Welcome to the lesson Confidence Intervals for the Population Mean. Sigma is unknown. In my previous video, I discussed confidence intervals for the population mean when sigma is known. Today, I am going to discuss the same similar problem but sigma is unknown. Assumptions. We have a simple random sample from the population of interest. The population is large compared to the size of the sample. The variable we measure has an approximately normal distribution in the population. This assumption is crucial only for small samples. For large samples, x bar is approximately normally distributed by the center limit theorem. Therefore, no assumptions are needed for large samples. Both mu and sigma are unknown parameters. That is the last assumption. In the previous section, we discussed mu is mu is unknown, sigma is known. In this case, today I am going to discuss when both mu and sigma are unknown parameters. If the population standard deviation sigma is known, what is the confidence interval? Can you remember? Yes, it is x bar plus or minus z star sigma over root n. So x bar is the sample average, sigma is the population standard deviation, n is the sample size, z star is the critical value. How do we find the z star? To find the z star, we need the standard normal curve. Then the middle area 1 minus alpha and other two areas corners alpha over 2. Then we can find the z star. In the notation, we can write z star as z alpha over 2. What is the alpha over 2? Alpha over 2 is the area at the left side. As an example, think about this. The area at the left is 0.05. So, how do we write the z star using the new notation? It is z 0.05. Therefore, we can modify our confidence interval x bar plus or minus z alpha over 2 sigma over root n. Alright, now let me discuss the confidence interval when sigma is unknown. So what do you think? What are the changes? It is x bar plus or minus t alpha over 2 s over root n. Then tell me what is the s? S is the sample standard deviation. Because we don't know sigma, we don't know population standard deviation, therefore we can use sample standard deviation for the sigma. Then again x bar plus or minus t alpha over 2 s over root 10. So confidence interval as I explained before is the same. The middle is x bar, then this x bar minus t alpha over 2 s over root 10 and x bar plus t alpha over 2 s over root 10. Alright, would you remember we discussed margin of error? Yes, it is z alpha over 2 sigma over root 10 when sigma is known. Then what is the sigma over root 10? It is standard deviation of sampling distribution of x bar. Can we talk about these two in the current situation? Yes. Let me explain margin of error. Margin of error is the same, but we have t alpha over 2 s over root 10. Again, instead of z, here we have t. Instead of sigma, here we have s. Then, standard error of x bar. Standard error of x bar is the s over root 10. 1 minus alpha time 100% confidence interval for mu. We know it is x bar plus or minus t alpha over 2 s over root 10. So again, x bar is the sample average, S is the sample standard deviation, N is the sample size. So T alpha over 2 is the critical value. So how do we find the T alpha over 2? That should be our next question. Let me explain. This is the T curve. It is also symmetric and bell-shaped, and we consider 1 minus alpha in the middle and alpha over 2 at the corners as we discussed before for the Z. But here we have T star. It is not Z. So to find the T star, we need to use a T table. But what is the T star? T star again, T alpha over 2, it is the critical value. Now let me explain how to find the T star using T table. So now this is the area C. So that means 1 minus alpha equals C. C equals 1 minus alpha. That is the relationship between C and alpha. Alright, so this is the confidence level in the table. You see 50%, 60%, 70%, so on. That is the confidence level. Then degrees of freedom is what? How do we find the degrees of freedom? N minus 1. N is the sample size. So degrees of freedom is in this column. So how do we find the 0.90% when n equal 10 T star? How do we find the T star for this case? Here 90% in the middle area, that is confidence level. So confidence level is 90 and sample size is 10. So now we need degrees of freedom. How do we find the degrees of freedom? N minus 1. Therefore, degrees of freedom for this case is N minus 1 equal 9. Now we go to the 90% at the top and go to the 9 in this column, that is the degrees of freedom. Then pick the number at the intersection of these two, 90% and degrees of freedom 9. So you see it is 1.833. Therefore, T star or T alpha over 2 equal 1.833. Alright, now let me explain this example. What critical value T would you use for a confidence interval for the mean of the population in each of the following situations? First one, a 95% confidence interval based on n equal 12 observations. So 95%, the middle part should be 95.95. Then how do we find the T star? Just to find the T star, we need degrees of freedom. How do we find the degrees of freedom? Sample size is n equal 12 and degrees of freedom is n minus 1, which is 11. Now go to the T table. You see the T table and go to the confidence level, which is 0.95. So you see 0.95 here. Then go to the degrees of freedom, here 12. So go to degrees of freedom, then degrees of freedom is 11. Then you see the number at the intersection, it is 2.201. Therefore, T star equal 2.201. Now go to the B, it is 99. 99 confidence interval from a simple random sample of 2 observations. Alright, then sample size is 2. Therefore, how do we find the T star? We need the degrees of freedom first. It is n minus 1, which is 1. Then go to a table. We go to a 99 confidence level, which is here, and go to the 1 and check the number at the intersection, which is 63.66. Therefore, T star for this problem is 63.66. The last one, a 90% confidence interval from a sample size 1001. So again, This is the middle area is the 0.9. Therefore, go to the table and you can try by yourself. Then I will give the number, but make sure you go to the end 1001, but degrees of freedom is 1000. So please go to 1000 and at the top 90%. Then what is the T star? T star is 1.646. Please try by yourself, then you will understand. Thank you.